Vanity is certainly not a new human trait. People have always cared about how they look, about the impression they make on others. However, in today's world, this concern has become far more visible and pervasive than ever before. It seems to be an almost constant presence in our daily lives, influencing our thoughts and actions. We live in a culture that frequently elevates appearance to a primary measure of value. This intense focus on the external self has demonstrably grown stronger over recent decades. Individuals, especially younger generations, report spending more time and energy managing their image. The pressure to achieve and maintain an ideal look feels immense for many, starting at an increasingly early age. This persistent self-monitoring and outward focus is a defining characteristic of our modern era. Technology plays a significant and undeniable role in this heightened visibility of vanity. Smartphones, now ubiquitous, are equipped with high-quality cameras. This means we can capture images of ourselves at any moment, in almost any location, a capability unimaginable to previous generations. Furthermore, the internet allows these images to be shared instantly and widely with a potentially vast audience. Everyone can see, comment, and judge. This constant connectivity keeps our personal image at the forefront of our consciousness. We are, in a sense, always performing for an audience, even when we are physically alone, because the potential for digital display is ever present. This has fundamentally changed how we perceive ourselves and how we choose to present ourselves to the world around us. We are witnessing a profound shift in societal norms regarding personal display. Moments that were once considered private or shared only with a close circle are now often curated and broadcast for public consumption. What used to be personal reflection or spontaneous expressions are now frequently crafted with an audience in mind. People meticulously select which aspects of their lives and personalities to showcase. They strive to present an idealized version of themselves, a version that may not always align with their authentic reality. The boundary between private life and public image has become increasingly blurred, almost indistinct at times. This erosion of privacy contributes directly to a heightened sense of self-consciousness and a constant awareness of how we might be perceived by others watching our digital footprint. This modern manifestation of vanity is evident in numerous everyday behaviors. We see people spending considerable amounts of time perfecting selfies, often taking dozens of shots to find the right one. The use of digital filters to alter and enhance appearances is commonplace, creating unrealistic standards of beauty. Individuals eagerly chase fleeting trends in fashion, cosmetics, and even body types. The pursuit of cosmetic procedures, once a niche consideration, is becoming more mainstream, even among young adults seeking to emulate an idealized look. The desire to project a specific, often enviable image drives many consumer choices, from the clothes we purchase to the places we are seen frequenting. This widespread public display of self-preoccupation is a clear indicator of our times, reflecting a society deeply invested in the power and currency of outward appearances. Social media platforms, by their very design, are built to encourage and facilitate self-presentation. Consider popular applications like Instagram, TikTok, or even the enduring Facebook. These digital spaces prompt us to share updates about our lives, our thoughts, and our activities. More specifically, they implicitly and explicitly encourage us to share an appealing, often enhanced version of our lives. User profiles function much like personal advertisements or digital billboards. We are given tools and incentives to highlight our best moments, our most attractive features, and our most interesting experiences. The fundamental architecture of these platforms steers us towards this kind of self-display. It is an environment almost perfectly engineered for vanity to flourish, constantly nudging us to consider and refine how we appear to our online audience. What we typically encounter on social media is not a raw, unfiltered depiction of life. Instead, it is predominantly a highlight reel. People tend to post their achievements, their exciting vacations, their perfectly plated meals, and their moments of joy. They are far less likely to share their daily struggles, their mundane routines, or their vulnerabilities. This selective sharing creates a significantly distorted perception of reality for those consuming the content. We inevitably compare our own complex, often messy, ordinary lives to these carefully curated and polished online portrayals. This comparison can easily lead to feelings of inadequacy or envy. We might begin to believe, mistakenly, that everyone else is leading a more glamorous, successful, or fulfilling life, fueling the desire to also present an equally perfect image. The pursuit of likes, comments, shares, and followers acts as a powerful motivating force on these platforms. These forms of digital engagement are widely interpreted as social validation and approval. Receiving positive feedback can make individuals feel popular, admired, and important, which can be a very addictive sensation. Consequently, people may tailor their posts specifically to maximize engagement, sometimes changing their behavior, their expressed opinions, or even their appearance to align with what seems popular or praiseworthy online. This relentless quest for online approval is a clear and direct manifestation of vanity. For some, the quantitative metrics of social media engagement become a primary measure of their self-worth, making external validation more important than internal satisfaction or authentic self-expression. Furthermore, there is immense and often unspoken pressure to conform to prevailing online beauty standards and lifestyle trends. Certain looks, body types, or aesthetic preferences can gain viral popularity very quickly on social media. These trends then become idealized, often presented as the norm or the most desirable state. The widespread availability of filters and sophisticated editing applications allows almost anyone to digitally achieve these idealized looks, at least in their photographs. This can lead to a homogenization of beauty ideals, narrowing the definition of attractiveness. It can also make individuals feel deeply insecure if they do not naturally fit these often narrow and unrealistic standards. The constant chase for an idealized, frequently unattainable appearance is a direct and troubling consequence of social media's pervasive influence on modern vanity. The constant exposure to seemingly perfect images of others on social media platforms can significantly erode an individual's self-esteem. When we repeatedly compare our unedited everyday selves to the polished and filtered highlights presented by others, we often conclude that we fall short. This comparison is particularly detrimental for young people, who are in the critical stages of forming their identity and sense of self. Seeing an endless stream of apparently flawless bodies, luxurious lifestyles, and constant happiness can lead to persistent feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt. It can make individuals question their own value and attractiveness. This intense focus on external appearance, often at the expense of internal qualities such as character or intellect, is fundamentally damaging to healthy self-perception. True, resilient self-worth is cultivated from within, not derived from fleeting online comparisons. Vanity, particularly in its more extreme forms, is often deeply intertwined with underlying insecurities. Individuals who feel unsure of themselves or their intrinsic value may seek external validation through their physical appearance or their curated online persona. They might operate under the belief that if they achieve a certain look, they will finally feel good about themselves. Or they might think that an impressive image will make others like and admire them more. This reliance on external approval to bolster self-esteem can become a constant, exhausting burden. It creates a precarious cycle where the person requires an ever-increasing amount of praise and positive feedback just to feel acceptable. This forms a fragile and unreliable foundation for self-esteem, distracting from the development of a stable inner sense of self-acceptance. An excessive preoccupation with one's own image and appearance can also place considerable strain on personal relationships. When individuals are overly concerned with how they look or how they are perceived, they may have less mental and emotional energy available for others. Conversations can become superficial, frequently revolving around appearances, status symbols, or personal achievements, rather than deeper emotional sharing. It becomes challenging to form and maintain deep, meaningful connections if one or both parties are constantly worried about maintaining a perfect facade. Authentic relationships require vulnerability, empathy, and a willingness to be seen as imperfect. Vanity, by its nature, often encourages the opposite, a meticulously managed, flawless public image, which makes genuine intimacy and trust difficult to cultivate. Ultimately, it becomes significantly more difficult to form genuine, lasting bonds when the primary focus remains on outward display and superficial attributes. Friendships might be formed or maintained based on shared status, perceived coolness, or similar aesthetic preferences rather than on shared values, mutual respect, or genuine emotional support. Romantic relationships can also suffer under the weight of excessive vanity. Partners might be chosen more for their physical attractiveness or the image they help project, rather than for their character, kindness, or compatibility. This pervasive superficiality inhibits the development of trust, deep understanding, and enduring emotional connections. True human connection requires us to look beyond the surface, to appreciate and accept the whole person, including their imperfections. Vanity often acts as a barrier to this deeper, more rewarding level of engagement. Advertising has historically played a significant and often deliberate role in promoting certain aspirational ideals related to appearance and lifestyle. For many decades, marketers have strategically used images of beautiful people, luxurious settings, and desirable possessions to sell their products and services. A common tactic involves tapping into our inherent insecurities or creating new ones. Advertisements might subtly or not so subtly suggest that we are somehow not good enough as we currently are. They often imply that purchasing a particular product will make us more attractive, more popular, more successful, or ultimately happier. This is a remarkably powerful and effective technique. It cleverly links material, possessions, and consumer choices directly with concepts of self-worth and social acceptance, a cornerstone of consumer culture that actively feeds into vanity. Modern advertising has amplified these techniques, particularly through the use of social media influencers and sophisticated aspirational content marketing. We are now constantly exposed to seemingly ordinary individuals who appear to be living extraordinary, highly desirable lives, often implicitly or explicitly attributed to their use of certain products or services. The imagery presented is typically highly polished, professionally produced, and meticulously curated to project an air of effortless perfection. This constant barrage of idealized images reinforces the pervasive idea that external appearance and material possessions are the primary keys to happiness and social validation. It cultivates a desire for things we may not genuinely need, encouraging us to relentlessly chase an often unattainable image rather than seeking genuine internal fulfillment. This dynamic creates and perpetuates a powerful cycle of consumerism. We feel an internal and external pressure to acquire the latest products, follow the newest trends, and display the right status symbols in order to project a successful, attractive, and enviable image. This desire is directly fueled by the vanity that advertising so effectively cultivates and exploits. We purchase clothing, cosmetics, technological gadgets, and even experiences with the underlying hope that they will enhance our image and elicit admiration from others. However, the satisfaction derived from these acquisitions is often fleeting and superficial. New trends quickly emerge, new products are launched, and the pressure to keep up and acquire more begins all over again. This relentless pursuit of an idealized self through consumption can be emotionally exhausting and ultimately unfulfilling. So how can we, as individuals and as a society, begin to address this escalating issue of pervasive vanity? A crucial step involves encouraging a fundamental shift in our collective values. We need to consciously and actively emphasize and celebrate inner qualities such as kindness, empathy, intelligence, critical thinking, and integrity over mere outward appearance or material wealth. Media literacy education is also vitally important. Equipping people, especially young and impressionable individuals, with the skills to critically analyze how media messages are constructed and how they are designed to influence us, can foster resilience. We must strive to cultivate sources of genuine self-worth that are not precariously tied to social media likes, follower counts, or physical appearance. Finding joy in authentic human connections, personal growth, meaningful work, and engaging hobbies can help us resist the relentless pressure to project an impossible perfection. It's about consciously choosing to look inward for validation, not just outward into the ever-present mirror of societal expectation.